The Bring a Trailer Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bring a Trailer Podcast. My name is Alex Porter. I am the operations director for the company, and I am joined once again in our studio in San Francisco by Tyler Greenblatt, who is the manager of the team that produces our motorcycle listings. Tyler, thanks for coming back, buddy.
Alex, always a pleasure to be here, though. I was reminded on my ride in this morning about how San Francisco and Bay Area weather can differ every few minutes.
Man, I was going to save that for a little bit later, but we might as well start there. I was sitting here in the office. I knew you were coming up today. We have some construction in the hood, so you had talked about bringing a motorcycle. Actually, turns out not necessary because the construction's a block away, but you soldiered on anyway. I was driving from my house here to open up the office, and it was all wet. And I was like, oh, no. And you got about a 2-hour ride. So how did that go?
Yeah, all of a sudden, I don't know, do you call it rain or is it just heavy fog?
No, it did rain I mean, this is so funny. My kids ask about this all the time, right? They wake up and the car's wet. They're like, it rained. I'm like, no, that's just the fog of San Francisco. But I think it actually did lightly rain last night because our steps were wet. The streets were wet. So there was a light rain, but there is some kind of an area in between heavy fog and light rain. And we were probably just on the rain side of it today, but obviously got on the roads too, right?
Yeah. As you know, I'm somewhat still new to the general Central Coast and Bay Area. So I'm still trying to figure that out myself. So I know when I was riding in this morning, everything was fantastic. All of a sudden, water started appearing on my face shield and started to get cold, and my heated grips kind of couldn't keep up.
Ooh, enough. That's not great.
So I was like, what is going on here? I was like, when I left my house, it was beautiful. And if you look outside now, it's beautiful again. So I guess just another joyous morning in the world of motorcycling in the Bay Area.
You rode in at just the right time. You caught all the worst weather. I will say, I was sitting here in the office typing away, and I heard a pretty beefy bike. We haven't even gone to look at it. What did you ride in today? You said dry clutch. So does that mean Ducati?
Yes. Ducati, it's a 98 ST2, silver over a gold frame, gold wheels. It's got matching saddlebags, matching trunk.
From a distance, it looked like a big, like kind of BMW Cruiser. Is that totally wrong?
Yeah.
Or was it meant to compete with those kinds of things?
The thing I really love about it is Ducati basically did it. Like if you look at like current Ducati Multistradas, they're very similar to Triumph Tigers, Honda Africa Twin, BMW GS. They kind of all are fit into that big touring category. When the ST2 came out in, I want to say 97 in Europe first, and then 98 in the US, it was basically Ducati saying, we build great sport bikes, so let's just throw some bags on one and see what happens.
And put you more upright. Is that right too?
You're a little bit more upright.
It's not quite BMW comfort level?
No. It's nothing like that. 2 hours, as you mentioned, you start to like want to go for a walk.
Okay.
It's definitely, you're definitely in sport bike. I cheat a little bit. I got these little like 1/2-inch risers to go under the handlebar, under the separate handlebars. So that helps a little bit, but like,
oh, it's not one
really.
bar. You have to put one on each side?
Yeah, they're bolt-on individual handlebars.
Wow.
So they bolt directly to the top triple clamp. So yeah, I cheated a little bit with the 1/2-inch risers, threw some heated grips on there. So it makes it a really great commuting bike, and it's plenty fast. I took it on Laguna Seca a few weekends ago.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, last Friday, right before our big Quail event. So we did a couple laps at Laguna. So that was a blast. But yeah, I love the history of that bike, where it's such a Ducati thing in the 90s, where it's like Ducati was making these amazing, super fast sport bikes. They were winning races.
Yeah.
And somebody had the idea. I mean, BMW had been making touring bikes since.
But theirs are triples and fours, right? Or I guess you could get a touring with a boxer too, right?
Yeah. The GS is going to have a boxer.
Okay. A little bit bigger. They're 1,200 or something like that.
God, they might even be 1,300 now.
Yeah.
They seem to go up like 50 cc's every few years.
But your Ducati's 1,000.
It's a 944.
944. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a similar engine that's in the Monster, which is a real popular bike, just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So you can get a big bore kit for a Monster, and that basically turns it into what I have, except mine is fuel injected, which I love.
Yeah. How far forward is the front cylinder leaning?
It's 90 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but does it pitch forward, or is it upright V?
No, the front cylinder would be parallel to the ground.
Oh God, I love that.
Yeah,
that's
parallel to the, maybe even a little bit tilted down.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Fantastic.
it sounds amazing. It's got these Fastbike Farachi mufflers on it, full tuned. I think I've got like 60,000 miles on it, maybe more.
What?
Yeah.
You've added most of that yourself?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've added like a few thousand miles
Okay.
myself.
But
Somebody had a really great time on this motorcycle, and they put a bunch of really nice stuff on it. They did the pipes, they did all the tuning work. So I bought it. It was a high mileage used bike that I got from a reputable Ducati dealer in Chicago, which was a lot of fun. Actually, doing it from a Ducati dealer, I felt like the real deal, even though I was buying probably one of the cheapest bikes a Ducati dealer has ever sold, ever, which I'm also proud of.
Well, we're not going to interview the Ducati dealer about it.
Yeah, no. I bought it. It's kind of my beater bike, and I've just fallen in love with it.
That's so sick.
So much fun. My wife goes on the back. We have a really great time with it.
Killer, man. Well, I'm glad you brought it up today, and it sets us up perfectly for this convo, as does you having ridden it around Laguna. One of the big reasons we wanted to have you today was to talk about the BAT event at the Quail, which was, was it 10 days ago about roughly,
Yeah.
but we're still pretty fresh off of it. And third time's a charm. This was our third time and it finally didn't rain. Tell me all about it. By the way, I've been trying to not get info because I've been waiting for this conversation.
All right. Well, first off, just so you and Beck know, I heard all your little jokes about the rain on the podcast.
Yes. Okay.
So I remember sitting in my car, maybe a curse word, and Alex and Beck were all in the same sentence, perhaps.
Well, he and I have a similar vibe to the one you and I do, Tyler, which is we don't think about people outside the podcast room. We're just talking smack freely about everybody.
I love that because I feel like I always manage to alienate 25 to 30% of our user base when I'm on here.
No. Well, actually, before you talk about the specific event, for those who don't know, tell us just a little bit about the Quail Moto Gathering.
Oh, good one. So the Quail Moto Gathering, and one of the reasons I love that we partner with them and have done so 3 times, the Quail is, and actually recently rebranded Quail MotoFest.
Oh, okay, great.
Super cool. They've always done a really good job. It's run by Gordon McCall, who I know is a friend of the site and podcast. And they've always had kind of this fun, youthful, forward-thinking vibe, which makes them a little unique in like the Concours world.
Yeah.
But it is also 100% a Concours level motorcycle event. I mean, you're talking judges in blazers. You're talking...
Same vibe as the big car Quail during Car Week, right? Same idea, just a couple months earlier.
That's my thinking. I have not spent the money to go to that yet.
It's an amazing event. I only went one time and it was courtesy of Randy. Speaking of the price tag there.
Hint.
Yeah.
But I imagine the same. And I think it's even in the same spot. It's on that driving range. So it's a beautiful setting. I used to live 5 minutes away from there. So I know it's
Carmel Valley.
Carmel Valley. It's just a lovely, lovely spot. Perfect setting. But yeah, Quail is a fully judged motorcycle concours. I want to say it's like one of the only ones, certainly one of the only ones in the US in terms of high level events.
They do a featured mark each year, kind of like they do at the year I went with Randy, which was, now 7 or 8 years ago. I think it was 2017 or 2018. They had Lamborghini Aceleros. This is the car one during Car Week. And they had like 20 of them or something like that.
That's such a fun way. Pebble Beach has even done that a little bit with Countach or Countach, perhaps.
Oh man,
I don't know. I know that's a bit of a hot button topic around here.
My mom's name, she's Italian, is Bricchetto, Brichetto. And people her whole life have said bruschetto, and she's like, no, it's hard CH. So I'm a big believer in Countach, hard CH.
So what do I put like my little crackers and tomatoes? Like, what do I call that?
Man, bruschetta?
Bruschetta?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
We're going off topic.
I'm not going to weigh in on all this. Everyone says Countach, but I maybe because I'm a contrarian, I stick with the hard CH. Anyway, go ahead. Continue, Tyler.
Yes. So they did anyway have a couple featured marks, and they always do such a cool job of it. This year was another fun pronunciation of Bimota.
Right. Give me the TLDR on Bimota, which I don't totally understand. It's Italian, right?
Italian. They basically started off using, I don't know their early history. Started off in the early 80s, but kind of the one that people know, which we've actually sold a couple of.
They use Ducati motors, is that right?
They've used both Ducati and Yamaha.
Oh, interesting.
They've used some interesting Yamaha.
But have never made their own power plant.
No, that's their thing. They basically take these really quality power plants and then build an even better chassis to
build their own chassis. And great, gotcha.
And you may be familiar with the Tesi, which is the bike with the kind of front swing arm setup.
Really weird looking, right?
Hub-centric steering.
Yeah.
So cool. We actually had one of those sell recently.
Got some asymmetrical design elements on them too. They're cool looking for sure.
Yeah, I think what you would call the control arms. It feels weird saying that about a bike, but I think they're control arms. the way they're set up they're a little asymmetrical. We sold one recently and to talk about a bike that you want to have in your collection, like, that's got to be high up there. And there's a couple newer versions of that bike as well.
Are they, can you buy a brand new one, or is it defunct, the company?
No, Bimota, I want to say, still makes bikes.
Looks like a lot of the ones we've listed are like in the aughts, in the 90s.
Yeah,
the
that
80s.
was kind of the fun generation. But no, they made one pretty
we've
recently.
listed a 2020.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, I know as of, like early 20s, they made Tesis too, with the hub-centric steering, so kind of a modern version of it. Really cool bike.
So that was the featured mark this year at the Quail?
It was one of them.
Okay.
It was the featured mark, technically, but kind of one of my favorite honorary designations, I guess you want to say, invitees, was a tribute to Pops Yoshimura. Are you familiar with? Oh, man. So basically, if you've ever seen a 90s or early 2000s sport bike with a 4-into-1 exhaust system that's super loud and pretty fast, it probably has a Yoshimura exhaust system on it.
Oh, this is an aftermarket exhaust system.
Yes.
I think I have seen that. Does it say Yoshi?
Yoshi.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yep,
Okay.
Yoshi. So there was a time when the squids of the 90s and
Carbon. There's a lot of carbon on them.
A lot of carbon on them. But like, that's the kind of stuff I love about Quail, where they put together this display and they had, I want to say, Pop's just total legend in that world. They had his first race bike on display, which was incredible to see. It's just that legend.
How far back is that? When was he
That would
racing?
have been mid 60s.
Oh gosh,
I think it's
dustbin fairings and stuff.
Yeah, this one was not faired, but it would have been that time.
Yeah,
yeah. It was 250 class, I think I want to say was his first race bike, and that was on display. Incredible. His either grandson or son was there. They always do like this nice Friday night dinner on the night before the event. And you can tell when, everyone was there speaking about, I want to say his grandfather. I'm sorry if I'm wrong about that, but I want to say his grandfather. You could just tell he was like totally lighting up about the video that they were displaying and like seeing his grandfather's like first race bike there. And
So
he's still
cool.
very much a part of the company.
I was going to ask, is the family still involved in the company?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And, like Yoshimura to me is like so legendary.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't there for his racing, just from the aftermarket perspective.
Totally.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
So to learn a little bit more about that history, about the product I was familiar with, to learn more about the race history behind it and some of the engineering and the legend was incredible to see. So that was a lot of fun. So they had a blast.
They let the BAT slobs like you into the dinner the night before, Tyler?
Only me. Yeah. And my wife joined as well.
Great.
It was part of the ride experience.
Yeah.
So starting off in the morning, do a couple hot laps on Laguna Seca. That was a blast. I was scared out of my mind because
Have you not ridden on the track before?
Yes, I have. But the last time I did it was on a Harley. So you're kind of limited on how fast you can go.
Yeah, you're not going very fast.
Yeah, doing it on the Ducati was like, I think I can hold, but I have no track experience. So I'm kind of like going back to my Gran Turismo A-Spec days.
Totally.
And I'm like, okay, I think I start braking here. Chris Baxter's dad joined us for a little bit. He came in and checked it out. And he reminded me after the fact that when you're going through the corkscrew, you're supposed to aim for the tree, which I totally was like busy just holding on for dear life, that I wasn't thinking about trees. That was incredible. That was a blast. We went on an amazing ride out in Carmel Valley, stopped at a wonderful winery way out in the valley, and then made our way back to Quail, went home, got changed, went out for dinner that night. There's this huge ceremony where you can just have fun with everybody. It's really one of those things where you have old friends and new all getting
I was gonna ask you,
together.
running into people you know from the
Yeah.
okay.
Summer Hooker was there. He's a popular seller. He's got a wonderful bike live with us right now. So I sat with him and we just chatted about bikes, and he's kind of known as a Vincent guy, but his interests go to early American as well, which is
This is the pre-war Harley that you were talking about.
This is the 33.
Okay, mention that bike because it's live right now. When this podcast
Okay.
is going
Before
live.
we forget to talk about it, because this is one of the coolest.
What'd you say his name? He's got a fantastic motorcycle name.
Summer Hooker, and he is a fantastic motorcycle person as well. So he's the chief judge at Quail. So he's been doing it this was the Quail's 15th year in existence. I'm gonna say he's been doing it from the beginning. So just extremely well-respected guy. I was super excited a few years ago when he started listing some bikes with us. He lists for friends and things like that, and also some of his own stuff. But right now, the bike that he's got, that's just like, it's one of those things, Alex, where like, you have your bikes and cars as well, where it's like, there's your dream bikes and dream cars that are also kind of close to being affordable. We were like, oh, I could have that. And then there's the ones that are on the other side of that. This one's kind of like that for me, where like if I could choose any bike to have, like this might be in the running for it. It's just an incredible bike, 1933 Harley-Davidson. So it's 74-inch flathead. It is a VC model, which is pretty rare. VC meaning that it was originally equipped with a sidecar.
Oh, it came rigged for a sidecar.
Yeah, and Harley actually stamps the engines with the model names. So if it says VC, that's sidecar. We usually see VLs, VLDs for the high performance stuff, but the VC is kind of...
Who makes a sidecar on this thing? This bike does have a sidecar on it.
Yes, it does. And for those of you on the other side of the pond, it is a right side sidecar, which is typical in the United States. You might see some Triumphs and Ariels with a left side sidecar as well. So this one's right side. The coolest thing about this bike, in 1933, I know you're a history guy. What's going on in the United States? The Great Depression, right? So who's going to be buying motorcycles? Motorcycles were still transportation devices at that time. They weren't fun. They were for transport. But Harley was still having a tough time selling them when people couldn't like afford food or housing. Sure. And so they came up with this really neat paint scheme that's kind of like a wave eagle head type of concept. And I'll throw out the lot number, which is 194172.
Yeah, and we'll link to it too in the description because it's a beautiful looking bike.
And you could get it in 3 different colors with this kind of eagle head design, very like Art Deco,
it is
very
beautiful.
Period.
The sidecar is made by Harley.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
They did make their own sidecars for a long time. I wasn't sure
I didn't know that. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so super cool. And sometime we'll have to talk about sidecar racing as well.
Oh my gosh,
we have a fun one coming up with that too,
cool.
But that'll be on the next one.
Okay.
Just a fun bike. I love the color scheme. I love what it represents. 1933, like I said, Great Depression. So it was like the lowest production year ever for Harley-Davidson is 1933.
Oh, wow.
It's also the last year for some early styling cues. In 1934, they started to get a little bit bigger fenders, some built-in taillights. I feel like 33 is like the last of the good years for Harley. I'm a little old school in that regard. I kind of like teens, 20s, up to 1933.
Was Harley the preeminent American manufacturer of bikes even then, or was Indian a close
Harley
competitor?
and Indian were like neck and neck.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I want to say they were neck and neck, certainly going into World War I. But then I think on the other side of World War I, Harley started to eke them out. And then
is an Indian still a good bike in the 30s?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, you are familiar with
one
of the Indians from the 30s.
The 4-cylinder.
That's right.
But I guess what I'm asking is, what's the comparison between the two? Is like Indian upmarket? Are they head-to-head competitors? Obviously, Harley doesn't have a 4-cylinder, but would somebody be looking at both if they were interested in a motorcycle, or are the brands, are they separate? Are you kind of loyal to one or the other, or one's a more expensive bike than the other? Maybe you don't know the answer to those questions.
It's a really good question. And I think you kind of have to use your imagination a little bit to put yourself in the shoes of the 1930s. Indian has typically been a bit more higher end on the styling.
It's flashy. They've got those big fenders on them.
Yeah. So you have a little bit more styling. This bike's a flathead.
Yeah, both pretty simple mechanically, right?
Yes. Up until 1936 is when Harley went to their first overhead valve design. And Indian never did that. Indian always just had flatheads.
Yeah.
So that was starting in like 36. That was kind of
a step up.
Indian lasted for another 18 years, I want to say, until like 1954. And by then, they just couldn't keep up with the innovations that Harley was coming out with. But since then, so if you were looking at them today, some might say that Indian has a bit more of a romantic vibe, to be on a 1930s Indian versus a 1930s Harley.
It's a little more exotic seeming now because Harleys are so ubiquitous in modern culture that an Indian is a little more exotic, but it wouldn't have felt that way in the 1930s.
No, I think they were pretty much neck and neck going into the 30s.
Yeah.
But I think looking back now, there is something a bit more romantic about Indian. I tend to prefer the utilitarian, in-your-face Harley.
No, you're a Harley guy. I know that.
I am.
I like vintage Harleys a lot. Anyway, we got sidetracked and I interrupted your flow.
Not us.
I know, totally. So you're at dinner the night before the show. Any other?
Is that how far we got?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, man.
But I do want to get to the actual show itself. So anything else notable that night, or you want to take us to the morning of the actual event?
So the other thing I love about the Quail, they always pick a legend of the sport. So you're talking about marks, you're talking about some important companies. And they always pick a person as well to honor and kind of show this is not just an industry about these mechanical vehicles.
People, of course, right.
It's people. And this year, I'm sure you know who this is, Troy Lee. He was this year's honoree, and we got to hear him speak. And I own some of his shirts. Like I have some of his like work shirts when I'm working in the garage. Like I like my Troy Lee shirts. But he has an amazing history of painting all sorts of motorsports helmets. I mean, that's his passion, is helmet painting. And yet he's got this company with his name on it that's like this massive fashion and motorsports kind of clothing experience. And he talks, and all he talks about is like the good old days of painting helmets in his parents' garage. So what an amazing guy, total legend.
So he was talking about early days and how he got started, or he was telling the whole story of the company and his rise?
Whole story. But honestly, it's the painting the helmets, the coming up with these concepts and putting them down and then seeing them in use. So that's still his passion today. So that's always been his thing, is he paints these amazing helmets. So it was really cool. I had never heard him speak before. So we got to kind of hear his take on his business and his life and his career as well.
Killer.
So that was
Do you get to meet him? How crowded is this dinner? Did you get to walk up and talk to him?
No, I did not. I did talk to the guys from Yoshimura, which was a lot of fun.
Cool. That's great.
And talk to some of the other judges and some of the other folks we know. But yeah, there's probably 150 or so people there. So
awesome. I'm so glad you got to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us about the day of.
Okay. Day of, as you...
And give me a little compare and contrast to the past years, because it's true that Beck and I were messing about and joking about it, but it did rain the last 2 times we did this. And
yes.
So we were all hoping this year would be different.
Yes. Although I will say, one of our commenters on the event post, which I think we'll also be linking to, commented that if this was a car event, it would have been canceled.
Oh, interesting.
And he's 100% right.
Even the
last
most recent
year,
one. Yeah.
Last year, we had sideways rain. And people were riding in, their hands were white. We gave them hot coffee. It was incredible. This year, I've been really wanting to see what the experience is like when it's a fun day to ride in and you can really enjoy everything. And we finally got that this year. Tons of incredible bikes. You go to a lot more, gatherings and alumni events than I do. I'm just blown away at the variety.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what's on the site.
Yes.
In the back of my mind, I'm always kind of thinking like half of these bikes are going to be BMWs that show up. The other half are going to be Harleys. The other half are going to be Ducatis.
Yep.
There was like one of everything.
I know. We'll link to this too, obviously, but the pictures are amazing.
Yeah. You can see everything in the pictures. The photographer did a wonderful job. But I mean, everything from like some early Moto Guzzis, some modern
Is that what was under the
bikes.
balloon arch? What's in the balloon arch right in the middle?
That is a BMW R69S restored by Tim Stafford. So he is kind of the guy when it comes to like /2 era.
Yep.
We sold a green /5 from him last year, which was for sale, or it was going off while the event was taking place.
Oh, interesting.
In our tent.
Yeah, okay.
So Tim's an amazing guy. I was so excited when he parked that bike. The bike actually came before the blow up arch. So Tim rides over and he parks his bike, and he's a judge and he's always restoring bikes. He's won at least once at Quail. So he parks his bike right out front like that. And we're like, okay, well, we kind of like should move it to be in our showgrounds a little bit. And then I think it may have been Chris who kind of had the idea, or do we
just put the arch right over
show around the bike? And do we just put the arch over?
Perfect.
And I was like, yeah, that looks awesome.
Perfect.
And that bike, I mean, it's incredible. We sold a couple of his bikes, a few that have been restored by him as well. That's also really meaningful. That's kind of the Quail, though. I mean, the top people in the industry bring their bikes and display them.
How far afield? I mean, I presume plenty of East Coasters, people from different countries too.
Last year, I know we had one guy that rode in from Canada.
Amazing.
But yeah, from all over the place. We have friends, sellers. I know one of the judges who's listed many fantastic bikes with us from Minnesota. He came and said hi. We chatted with him for a little bit. There's a picture of Chris and I chatting with him and kind of giggling awkwardly at each other. So that was kind of fun meeting him. That's the other great thing about all the gatherings and alumni events, is meeting people that you interact with.
Totally. That's my favorite thing, is all the people who come up and just want to talk about the website and want to talk to car and bike people like themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously, that's kind of what our website is known for, right? Like the people behind it are all real deal enthusiasts and fans themselves.
Yeah. Shockingly, a lot of people are kind of like surprised to learn that.
Oh,
when we meet them in person.
All right. Undercut my point. No, that is, I mean, in all seriousness, that is a big reason why we do this.
Yeah. So like we came over and talked to Tim, or he was speaking with Chris about something. I recognize his name tag. I've worked on, I think he sold like 150 bikes or something with us.
Okay.
And I've been working on his bikes. The people that I work with have been working with him very closely. And I saw his name tag and I just went over and introduced myself. And I'm like, I'm Tyler and I work on a lot of the motorcycles that you've listed. And he goes, oh, okay. And so we just have this camaraderie. So it's like kind of one of my favorite things is just speaking with people who I message pretty regularly, many times over the course of years.
That's what I mean. I mean, I didn't express myself well earlier, but that is my favorite thing is like somebody that you've talked to or messaged so many times, or, I mean, it's even happened to me where it's like people that we've even had some mild friction with in the past, being able to like put a face to it and talk to that person and, even rehash things that have happened in the past is so important, right? There's nothing like meeting your community in the flesh, right? It's so, so important.
Yeah. And,
and motorcycling is a smaller world, right? So you really get to connect with.
So I know most of our sellers on a first name basis.
Totally. Which is impressive because this is maybe a topic for a little bit later, but we're closing in on 10,000 motorcycle listings, right? So to know so many of those people is really impressive. And again, sounds like an advertisement for BAT, but we really care about it. Like you and I work together, putting your whole team together specifically so that we can have people who care and know about motorcycles working on the motorcycle listings, right? And we're able to talk in the right parlance to the people who are selling them.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about this for years. That's kind of been our thing is like, if we want to be serious about selling motorcycles, ATVs, boats, I mean, we have to know what we're talking about.
100%.
We're not going to try to fake it. So that's why the people who know these kinds of vehicles are the ones working on those listings. And I got to give a shout out to one of our Moto team members who flew in from North Carolina, Elisa Kisak.
Oh, I was so excited that she got to make it out.
Was incredible on the field, speaking with people. She's just like she is in her back-end communications and her messaging with sellers, really friendly. She was going from, we get there at like 6:30 and she was on all day. It's not an easy day sometimes when you staff these things.
It's actually tough.
We look back at it and it's always fun, and it is fun in the moment, but it's also
it's more fun to it's one of those things. I can't remember where I heard about this. It's one of those things that's more fun to remember than it is to especially when you're waking up and it's still dark outside or it's cold and you got to go set up a tent. I'm super glad to hear that. Shout out to Lisa. We love her, and I'm glad she was able to make it out. Talk to me about some of these other things. I'm scrolling through the pictures, and what's the Indian Streamliner deal?
Oh, that was in the display field itself, which I was able to walk around a little bit and check out some things.
I know you always end up getting trapped in the tent in these things, so I don't want to grill you about things you don't know about, but that is amazing. I missed that the first time around.
Yeah. But I don't know too much about it. It's got the lay down bars on it, no suspension, obviously. It's got like a little bit of a leaf spring in the front, but nothing serious.
What were some of the other big highlights for you? You put a couple interesting bikes under the tent. I don't know if you want to speak about those. Some of this is curated by Tyler, right?
Yeah, a little bit curation by Tyler. I like that. That's got a nice ring to it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it feels a little weird, and maybe the early days of alumni events and gatherings for you, where it's kind of like something rolls in that you personally think is really cool. Totally. You're like, okay, yeah, you can go over to the tent. You
bring
with that
right
thing,
here.
you go
bring
over
it
there.
Right here. You flag them in and bring them right up front. Yeah, totally. Yes, that is how it goes.
One of them was a bike that we've actually been listing a bunch of these lately, and I never saw these bikes before. A friend of mine had one years ago, and he competed on Moto Giro on it. He rode it all over the place. I don't remember what year his was, but it would have been like a 55, 56 Moto Guzzi. So
and that means
single cylinder.
Yeah, okay, because Guzzis to me are famous for the V-twin that sits sideways in the chassis instead of fore and aft.
That's right. Personally, I kind of like the earlier singles. So we sold one for
these are relatively small. These are like 200cc, 300cc,
250 and 500. Okay. So you can get the Airone and talk about pronunciation.
Yeah, spell that.
Sure, we'll
spell that. Yeah.
AIRONE.
Not a hard CH in there though.
There's no hard CH, but there might be a soft E.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure about that. The other one.
These are overhead valve. They're not overhead cam, probably.
Not overhead cam, but they are overhead valve.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
And the 250 Airone
and these are like 50s, 60s bikes, something like that.
I want to say like 50, and they kind of had similar bikes in the 40s as well. But I think kind of the more popular ones are from like 50 to like 60. So I'm looking at Falcone right now, a 1960 Falcone, which is lot number 172549. One of the more impressive ones that we've listed. It's a local Bay Area bike from a seller who brought a couple bikes to show with us. So I figured I'll give him a little love as well.
Really, really, really pretty.
Yeah, they are. And they have...
and the cylinder's straight forward,
yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah.
I love it when the fins on an air-cooled cylinder run the other way. You know what I mean?
I know why you love that.
Well, Ducati. It's the Ducati.
No, isn't that like a radial kind of...
No, the radials go radially around the cylinders.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So it's only when you have the lower cylinder on Ducatis are like this, but I've never seen it on a single where it's pointing forward into the thing and the fins run in the same direction that the piston is moving.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I had not noticed that. Because the cylinder's forward, I'm thinking of like an aircraft engine.
No, but they're not like
They're
that.
not.
Aircraft they're like a Harley. An air-cooled cylinder on a radial is like a Harley cylinder.
Okay, which is like every
cooling
cylinder,
fins
really.
totally-
I don't know if... God, I've got to look into seeing how many different models actually use these straight front-to-back fins. That's really interesting.
It's awesome looking, dude. It
One of
looks
the...
fantastic.
These bikes are incredible.
So you got to see a couple of them up close, right?
We had a couple of them up close. And we've been listing a ton of them. I've actually started petitioning to make a model page so we could put them all together because they're just so cool. It's like, I want to make them easily searchable and have them
Did you get
together.
a chance to ride one? What would something like this be like to ride? It's pretty old technology.
I'll tell you, the technology is old for sure.
But they're light,
not
probably,
crazy.
right? They're light.
Yeah,
right?
they're lightweight. They're not super fast, but they move.
What would that be? 20 horsepower or something like that?
So the Airone would be, I want to say it would be 9 horsepower.
Oh my gosh. In the little one. In the
13 if you went to the sport, if you got the sport package.
That's the 500 for 13 horsepower?
It would still be the 250, but you'd get a 25 millimeter carburetor.
Bigger carb. Yeah, okay.
Bigger carb, intake manifold and port. I know this because I literally just looked at one.
What are they, Delordos?
They are Delordos.
Yeah, okay.
That's right.
Great.
But yeah, it's like the kind of bike that, we talk about like a bike that you can put on display, but maybe also ride a little bit.
Absolutely. But like it's like art for you too, if you want to look at it. Oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah, so this is kind of it.
So the flood of them coming in, is that because we had we see this happen, a couple good results and then they come flooding in? Is that what happened, do you think?
I think that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
My understanding of these bikes is that they've been kind of under the radar for many years.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, one
This is one of the
sells
reasons
for
people hate-
$25,000.
People hate about Bring a Trailer, right? Like we put these things on blast. But
I know. I feel bad. I'm like, I've got to anytime I see something coming up and I'm like, oh, this is going to blow up. Like that happened with K5 Blazers.
Actually, that's a really good segue into, you were mentioning Schwinn bicycles. Sorry, this is off Quail event for a little bit, but that was another thing where we had a couple 70s Schwinn bicycles and now they're flooding in and your team's got to write those up too.
Actually, I want to give a shout out to Nye, Mark, and Dan, as well as Beck.
I was going to say shout out to Beck because the first successful run was MS Classic Cars, Mark Scarilla, one of our white glove sellers who crushed it on like 4 or 5 of them.
These bikes were incredible.
These are
none of us even really knew about.
You have to remind me of the names, but it's the little wheel in the front, the big wheel in the back, the classic Schwinn kind of 70s
so
cruiser.
cool. They're called crate bikes, KRATE. Is where they all fit into. And they have fun names like Apple Crate, Lemon Peeler.
Did you buy them in a crate? Is that why?
That I do not know.
Okay.
Gray Ghost.
This whole episode is me asking you about questions you don't have the answer to.
My God.
Shut up, Alex.
Yeah,
totally.
Maybe
Sorry.
next time.
Why don't you do your homework next time, Tyler?
Yeah, I know. Maybe I should. Right. Sorry.
No, but it's a similar phenomenon. So you guys are seeing a big flood of them now, right?
Yeah. So on MS Classic Cars listed those, I want to say like 6 of them, like one of every type.
Right.
Nye, Dan, and Mark got together and basically put together like kind of a little template package for them. So that way they could all be done in the same correct way. So you had 3 people basically getting their heads together to research.
And you're not doing it inconsistently that way too. Yeah,
and right. So we're like totally consistent. And now we've been using those every time one has come up for sale.
And these are like $6-7 people are paying for these. Isn't that right?
So yes, that is what people are paying now, but
Mark crushed it.
I was going to say, I'm looking at a couple
I think
of
his
numbers.
Close to $20,000.
There is a couple that are at 22
I mean,
plus.
he does such a killer presentation too.
Oh yeah. There are a couple that are at 22 plus. One of them, which one was it? Had a disc brake on the back.
Oh, that's amazing.
What?
And they've got banana seats, right?
Yeah.
And,
the banana seat, of course.
I mean, every time I look at him, Tyler, I'm kind of like, I get it. I'm kind of like, I want one of the, you know what I mean? I kind of want one of these.
There's a bunch coming through. Actually,
Could you imagine like on a beach, in California, warm with the sun? I mean, that's what you want to be riding, right?
Yeah. Wow. That'd be just so cool. I mean, actually, we have a couple live right now and you can see the lead images that show all of their counterparts stacked behind them. And like, that would be kind of cool. Like,
I know.
You're talking about like a beach house in California or something, just have 7 of them. So in like your family or all your friends show up, everyone calls which one they want, and then you go out ripping.
They're so cool. And it's, it's before my time. So by the time I was riding bikes when I was a kid in the 80s, it was like BMX bikes is what everyone was riding, Man, these are so cool.
Yeah, isn't that cool? But no, it's another example.
What's the crossover on bicycles and moto people?
Honestly, it's kind of hard to say.
Oh, okay.
I think a lot of moto people maybe got started like this. But if anything, I would actually... Yeah, I don't know. If
maybe
there's
not
any,
a tremendous
particular
overlap from bicycle people to motorcycles, but probably a lot of motorcycle people at least appreciate bicycles, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would think so. And actually, because of that, we have been putting these in our mini bikes and scooters category.
Yeah, okay.
So there's some crossover there. Like,
we made a new category, buddy, if these keep coming.
A bicycle category? Oh, man. Yeah.
I know. Talk about opening the floodgates.
Yeah. If it's on the podcast, you got to...
You know what? You open Pandora's box, buddy, and you can't close it.
That's right. That's right.
It is what it is. Sorry, we're all over the place. Close us out on Quail. So it was a successful one this year. I mean, not that the other ones weren't, but you were stoked that it was good weather and we got great turnout.
Yeah, exactly. It was just really nice to see what we could do to offer something for our folks that they could spend all day at. It was huge.
And the setup is right at the entrance to the main event. How does that setup work? I got to make it down one of these years.
This would have been the year.
I know. I've done a lot this year and I've got more coming up. So I try to meter out how many of these things I do because, I mean, to your earlier point, it's actually quite a bit of work and logistics. We've got to send team members for a couple days to get everything set up. It's on the weekend and we're pretty precious about the time off we get. BAT's a 24/7 gig in some ways. So it's a lot of work, and huge shout out to you and the people for doing it. But that's one of the reasons I haven't been able to get down.
And might as well throw Danielle's name out there and Chris and HUD and all those folks for setting up every event that I've done. It's like I go in there and like you're talking about, it seems like
Emily
a lot to be there for 3-4 days. Emily and Tab.
Yep.
It seems like a lot to be there for 4 days. Those folks have been working on this for months.
Yes, correct.
In advance. So that's
just like I make it so easy seeming to host a podcast, Tyler, which you were complimenting me profusely before we hit record, which is true. I'm so great at it. They make it easy. I think we maybe make it look easy to have these events, right? And they're actually tough. It's tough logistics.
Yeah, it's tough. And there's a lot of people. And actually, a pretty cool thing for the Quail is we not only don't charge, but we give people tickets,
absolutely,
which they're definitely not Quail car price tickets, but they're not cheap either. So it's just
which we're happy to do because it's an amazing show. When you're down there, do you get time to cruise through the show too?
I did. This year, I was actually able to take off to go do it.
Great, because sometimes we get trapped in the tent all day, as you know very well.
Yeah, that happened to me last year. Although with the rain, I was a little bit like, oh, I'm trapped in the tent.
Yeah.
But this year, I'm like, I kind of want to go for a little walk around.
Great.
So I was able to go and see everything. It was wonderful. My favorite thing that I saw, Vic World, username Fastbike, who's listed a couple of fantastic bikes. He's kind of the top restorer of CB750 Sandcast. 68 750 Sandcast prototype won Quail last year.
But like best of show.
It won best of show last year. And again, you would have loved having this conversation with him.
I love those.
So he had the bike that won, the prototype, kind of the first one that Honda made to like just see what a 4-cylinder motorcycle looked like. And he had a very early production 750 right next to it. And there's like 100 differences.
Oh man.
The carburetors are totally different.
Wow.
There's vents in the engine that don't exist. So I just had like the best time ever.
Thing to
so like, thank you to him.
Yeah, totally, man. That's awesome.
I probably spent most of the time just looking at and being like, well, where does that tube go? Why is that tube there? Like, it was so cool.
Because the prototype's hand-built, essentially, right? And then they had to figure out how to mass produce it.
Yeah. I mean, Honda went to Kian and was like, we need a 4-carburetor setup.
Yeah.
And what Kian actually built was, I know you love carburetors.
I do.
So they built kind of like I don't want to say like a Weber style system where it's like, they're all connected through armatures. So like they all 4 open and close together. Whereas the later ones were
progressive,
more
later,
internal.
Right? Yeah. Aren't even progressive, or are they all linked?
They're all linked.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all linked.
But I mean, it's just they open all at the same rate. It's not like 2 butterflies open at a different rate than
no.
Okay.
If you've got them synced properly, they should all open up at the same. I'm learning that on my CBX at the moment.
If you're on a motorcycle, you just want wide open or not, or not.
Yeah, actually, the trick with tuning carbs, totally off topic here, is when you let off the throttle, you want the RPMs to come down real nice and smooth.
Yeah.
So that's how you know when carbs are tuned well.
Yeah. 6 on your CBX, right?
Yeah, I'm working on that. I finally got it running over the long weekend, and it sounds incredible. It runs well. but that's like 15% of actually getting it roadworthy.
I imagine, I mean, this is definitely true with cars, and I imagine it's true with bikes too. It's getting harder and harder to find people who can tune multi-carb setups.
God, yeah. I mean, it's getting harder to find anyone to do anything like this.
Oh, no kidding.
There's just not. Yeah.
Is there one person left in kind of Salinas, Monterey who will work on some of your old bikes?
Sort of. He won't work on my CBX.
Oh, interesting.
He did give me some good advice, though.
Is there a CBX guru on the West Coast?
Yeah, there's a guy in San Jose, actually.
Okay, great.
Who is kind of the guru. But
well, you're a little closer now.
Yeah, I know. That's true. I'm only like an hour away now. But you also kind of pay for them.
Oh, 100% you do.
And also, not to be morbid, but these people aren't going to be around forever.
You always hope that guy's got an apprentice training with him.
And a lot of times they don't.
I know.
So that's kind of one of these things that I've just been doing it myself. I'm like, I'm going to take the time to try to learn how to do this, because there could come a time I don't ever want to get rid of this bike. I've kind of made this my, like, this is going to be my bike.
Yep.
And I don't want it to not run, because I can't get somebody to fix the choke or adjust the linkages or synchronize 6 carbs.
If you talk to Andy Stoy about his, I think he's in the same boat. He's trying to figure it all out on his own.
Yes, but Andy, it sounds like, has a significant amount more technical ability than I do, because when he got his CBX, he told me that he rebuilt and tuned the carbs in like a weekend, and my bike's been on the lift for a year.
You're like, that's my 2025 project.
Yeah. So slightly different outcomes there. But yeah, it is helpful. I have been talking to him about tuning his CBX, and he's kind of shared some tribulations that he's had.
Andy's got a lovely kind of level-headed approach to life in general that I'm very envious of, and I try to model. I'm a little bit more all over the place than him, so he's a good person to try to copy their approach.
And he's also another one of these people, like you're talking about, where when he describes it, it sounds easy, but like, I want to know, like, was it really easy, or were you swearing and throwing wrenches across the garage too?
Andy was not doing that.
And he wasn't, right?
Yeah, totally. I would be. I'm not even going to attempt it.
I do.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm so stoked that went well. We love those folks. Love Gordon. Gordon's an early champion of BAT, like you said. So
he had some very nice things to say.
I was going to say, did you get a chance to connect with him?
I did. I got to chat with him quite a bit. He referred to BAT as his drug of choice, which I love.
Love that.
But yeah, he's a wonderful guy. And I love the vision that he brings to that event, where it's like, we're talking about, people getting older and not being interested in some of these, aerials and Velocettes and this kind of
Was there any square fours there? I love square fours.
I don't know, actually. I don't think there was.
We have had square fours come.
We had one last year, but that one didn't come this year. He was supposed to, but he didn't. But yeah, these kinds of bikes, it's like, there's just not a lot of people getting into them, but that doesn't mean people aren't getting into motorcycling.
Our colleagues who went with you are young. They're all younger than me, for sure. So there are young people who are excited.
Okay, but like, great example is like Christian, who actually got to ride one of our
I saw him. Was a Husky or something?
A CZ.
A CZ, that's right. Okay.
And he was just geeking out over that. Yeah. I mean, that's an early 70s, like maybe late 60s dirt bike.
Is it a Bull Taco?
A CZ is the brand.
Oh, CZ is the manufacturer.
Yeah. So Christian is a Bull Taco fanatic.
I know he
is.
Where's
it's a little
from?
unfortunate. So I was thinking about this the other day, and I didn't think to actually look it up. I've always just assumed Czech Republic.
Yeah, that's what I would have
because of the CZ.
Yeah.
But for all I know, it could be Spanish. I don't know.
Bull Tacos are Spanish, right?
Yes. So anyways, but like, that's the kind of thing that folks are interested in. Like myself, like, I love my early Harleys, but I also like 80s Hondas. And that's one of the things that Gordon's been doing is...
It's Czech.
It is Czech. Okay, good.
Okay, great.
Good. I mean, it had to be,
We figured that out live. We figured that out live.
I knew something. I love that.
We're smart people, Tyler.
And not only smart people, but Alex, you've recently become a bit of a motorcyclist.
Okay. I didn't know if we would come into this territory. It's interesting. I actually have a piece of advice for you. Okay. So yes, downstairs, we've got my Moto Compacto, which my dear wife bought for me for Christmas.
Okay, so she knows about this.
Yeah. She went to a Honda dealer to get it.
Yeah.
So this is like the kind of the update for the Moto Compo, except that it's electric. And I don't know if it's fair to say it's only $1,000, because that's not cheap. But for what it is, I think it's actually quite a bargain, because it's awesome. So
we've been barely get a TV for like,
I know. So we've been ripping laps around the office, and it folds into a suitcase. It's a 42-pound little electric scooter that you sit on. It doesn't look like anything else. When I ride it on the streets, people like stop you and they're like, what is that? And my idea was to use it as a pit bike, but now it's so much fun as a toy here in the office. Everyone rips it around.
You're turning some pretty good lap times around Randy's cars
I was thinking we need to start naming the corners down there. Anyway, it's kind of like I love Hondas, as you know, cars, just kind of love their approach to engineering and manufacturing in general. And so I'm enjoying it so much. I'm now on the Honda website dreaming about the DAX and the Monkey. Do you know these? These are these like retro. I think they're just
so cool.
They're just a Grom, right? Which is like you'd have to educate me on it, but it's a streetable mini bike basically, right?
It's just like a 50cc, totally streetable, can handle human adult weight.
Right. So these are 125s, I want to say.
Okay.
But they're 4-stroke, but they're built on
and
that.
the Grom might be a 125
but,
actually.
You know, it's a very trusted chassis, right? Like, and it's been around forever. And shout out to my buddy Stevie who rode one for a long time. People love those. So these are like vintage look.
Yeah.
The Monkey looks like you have to tell me exactly what it looks like, but it looks like a little kind of like dirt bike, almost like a Husqvarna or something. And then the Dax, which is the one I really like, looks like a trail. It looks like a trail.
Yeah.
And this is what I want to ask you basically. How stupid would it be for me to just get one of those as like a toy, kind of? They're like $4,000 brand new.
Yeah, no, not stupid at all.
Okay.
I mean, that's
I'm like
exactly what you should do.
I'm ready to step up from the Moto Compacto.
And that's probably about the next step. I don't know if there's anything between those two, maybe something in the 50s.
I think they're semi-automatic. I don't think you need to use a clutch or anything.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think
they're just squeeze and go, I think.
Okay.
But they have front and rear brakes, I presume.
Yes,
and
they should.
You know, it's basically an evolution step up. And, you know, like probably pretty easy to operate for a noob like me, a squid.
Yeah. Well, you have, I don't know, you have a SUV with a trailer hitch? Do you have anything with a hitch?
No.
Okay. So if you did, if anybody listening has something like that, many people do, you can get a carrier for, like I have one for my Tahoe that I carry my dirt bike on.
You just put like sideways in the back?
Yeah, you put it sideways on the back and it holds up to like 500 pounds or something. So you don't have to ride it on the street or really like on kind of busier streets.
I don't want it. My wife would never permit that anyways. I don't want to do that.
But you could take it to one of our alumni events.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Totally.
Take to the racetrack.
It's like, they look like pit bikes. They're like exactly what people used to have, but people would, and we sell a ton of these, as you know better than anyone. People restore those old Honda Trails and, you know, often that's what they're for. They're for pit bikes or on somebody who's got some property. They've got it to like go out to the mailbox or whatever, right?
Yeah. And I mean, some of the ones that get restored, a lot of them have, you could get totally brand new Chinese manufactured engines.
Oh, interesting. So they're not rebuilding the old one. They're just popping in.
I mean, a lot of people do rebuild the old one if they're going for a real like period experience. But those old ones are like 70 cc's.
Yeah.
And I want to say the new engines that bolt right in are like go up to 140 cc's with a 4-speed.
You get a hot rod too.
Yeah. And I've ridden one with a 125, I want to say. And that, I mean, it's a real motorcycle at that displacement.
Like 50 or 60 miles an hour, probably, I would imagine.
Probably. I mean, you're talking little wheels.
Yeah, and you're low, too.
I know. I don't know if I'd really want to go 50 or 60, but like, you know, if you're going through an open field and it's like there's not a lot that can hurt you, you could try it, I guess. But that would be the way to go. I mean, I love that kind of stuff. I think that's so cool.
Okay, well, hopefully my wife didn't listen this far because I really would like. I'm thinking about it all the time. I'm on the Honda website too often.
The other thing you could do on the Moto Compacto is one of the guys on our team, Jake, is putting a wide tire kit on it. Have you seen that?
There's all kinds of mods that people do. Yeah. They wrap them. They do all kinds.
Oh, the wraps. The wraps. You can get like, I know you love like vintage cigarette sponsorship
100%.
Wraps, like a John Player wrap,
or even just some of those vintage colors. Actually, one of the cool things that we were talking about when you were in the office last week were the old and new versions of, they weren't Triumphs. What were the two green bikes that you had parked right next to each other at the PAT gathering?
Yeah, totally random. And they're both photographed in the story on the site. One was like a 68 Tiger Triumph.
Yeah, okay, it was a Triumph. That's right.
And the other one was like a 2001 Yamaha W650, which is a bike that Yamaha made in the style of the 1968 Triumphs. And the owner of that bike painted it, put the tags on it, made it look like a Tiger. And both bikes just happen to be there.
Random, right?
Totally
not
random.
Related.
Yep,
and then we've got a picture of them next to each other and they look almost like twins.
Yeah,
it's amazing. But
there are.
I love that vintage green color. And presumably the guy with the modern bike did too, because that's what he painted.
Yeah.
You know, I love the vintage 60s and 70s colors on cars too, as you know.
Yeah. Well, especially with some of the Triumphs that we've seen sell, color is a big deal of that. It's a big part of that.
Of course.
We've sold some and like one had this like beautiful turquoise color and it went for wild money because that's the one you want.
Color, 100%.
You know, you could have another red one. You could have kind of another like black one or yellow one, but this like random turquoise and just like vintage BMWs, like /2s, R69s. You could get them in China blue, you can get them in Dover red. It's like all of a sudden these colors that aren't black and white.
Right, because so many of them are black.
And even if that's not the original color, it's still so much more fun to have those bikes. Like
totally.
Like we were talking about Tim Stafford's bike at our event, the gray one. Even the gray is kind of interesting.
Totally.
Because they're just all black.
Oh yeah, it's like that dove gray kind of, right? That like light
that might be what it is,
Bristol gray. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's something. It's along those lines.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's not black, it's not white. Like I would love to see like /2 BMWs
that's,
in like vintage Porsche
that's
colors.
That's true of Vincent's too. I think one of the Vincent record holders is a red shadow.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
a red
Which
black
very,
shadow.
very, very, very few of, right? They're almost all black.
Yeah. So it's just kind of a fun idea. And the point is nowadays it's like these bikes are so old that it's like if you want to do something to your bike, cars, I don't know if cars are getting there, maybe a little bit with resto mods, but with bikes, it's kind of like if you want to do something fun to your bike that allows you to ride it or that makes it more fun to ride it, do it.
100%.
People are getting a lot more open to, and that's one of the things that I love.
I was talking to Ryan Huber today. We were talking about old cars and how bad the brakes are. And he's like, man, don't ever hesitate to upgrade the brakes, right? If it gets you out there driving the car, unless it's like something where originality is key and it's a show car. But if it's a car that you want to drive and upgrading something gets you to drive it or ride it, do that.
Get the Willwoods.
Totally.
Just do it. Just do it and have fun with your car.
Perfect. Well, that's a great place to end because it's our philosophy. Get out there, ride, get out there and drive. Any parting shots, Tyler? Thanks so much for doing this. As always, buddy, we've got more to cover next time, but anything else you want to mention before we end here?
Yeah, just want to thank our Moto team at BAT, which has grown significantly, as you know, over the last
10,000, coming up on 10,000 in a couple, probably a month or two, we'll be at 10,000.
Yeah, I think somewhere like mid-July we'll hit Moto Lot 10,000. And just the team of people that are behind all of these are passionate enthusiasts. We have a boat guy. So
I know we didn't even
all
get to boats and ATVs.
I know. We will at some point. But yeah, Dan is doing these amazing things with boats. He's kind of loosely involved with Moto team as well. The team of people, like you said, is kind of on the front lines and they're enthusiasts themselves and they love, we have one guy, Chris, who only works on like mini bikes because he's a mini bike expert and he's able to ask questions and work with folks to get more out of them than they even know about their bikes.
Totally.
So I don't know. I just love that concept. I love where we're going, where we are right now. So anyway, just shout out to all of them for the work that they're doing every day.
People are what make everything possible.
That's right.
Our people, the sellers, people at these events, all of it, the community. We love you out there, guys. Well, thanks, Tyler, as always, and thanks to all of you for listening. Please send any questions or ideas or thoughts to podcast@bringatrailer.com, and we will catch you next time.